Yeah, hi everybody. This is a video about wind turbines, and I'm going to tell you some really fascinating stuff. So the first thing, let's get straight into it. There is in existence a wind-powered car. It's really a car, so like a bit like a cart basically, and it does have a wind turbine on it. There is no electric motor, there is no electric batteries, there is no internal combustion engine or diesel engine, there's no motive power whatsoever, apart from the wind turbine blades are connected directly to the wheels via gearing. And this car, you can face it into an oncoming wind of 20 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, doesn't matter, 15 miles an hour, and it will propel itself into the wind. So in other words, against the flow of the wind, into the wind. And not only will it drive into the wind, but it will accelerate into the wind. Now, if you're a boffin, you'll understand that. If you're a university professor, then I would refer you not to me, but to the clever people at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I think it was, or Harvard, that studied this and couldn't explain it. Well, they explained it with 30 pages of mathematics and mumbo jumbo, which was a tantamount to them saying that they didn't know. Just like if you look up what they think water is, their real answer is that they don't know. But we'll come back to that later. This vehicle does exist. You can see a video of it on Google, a YouTube rather. I'm not clever enough to do links, and I'm not clever enough even to claim to be any kind of expert or have any knowledge on wind turbines. What I do claim is that there are some physics anomalies around them which leave you in a very soul-searching situation, and this car is one example of that. So I find this a bit frustrating because I'm asking questions as much as I'm giving clues to where answers might be found. You know from my previous videos I'm very interested in physics anomalies and explaining the unexplainable. But contemporary science tells us, and it works, although I don't think it's the full picture. I'm not sure if there's a guy called Piggott, but certainly he's one of the contemporary sort of experts on wind power. But we end up anyway, from him or from elsewhere, with a formula which says the power from a wind turbine is the square of the turbine blade diameter and times multiplied, that's the big thing, by the even bigger thing, multiplied by the cube of the wind speed. So what does that mean? That means that if we had a 1 meter diameter wind turbine, or a 1 yard diameter wind turbine, and enough wind, we could generate a lot of electricity. Now, how much and how fast would the wind need to be? Well, let's take an extreme example to demonstrate the point. If we made a 1 meter diameter wind turbine and then got into the passenger cockpit seat of the world's fastest plane, which I don't know, might be say Mark III, something like that, at a guess, somewhere around about 2,000 miles an hour, and held it out the window while we were going that kind of speed, what sort of power would a 1 meter diameter wind turbine produce? Now, there's two problems. The first problem is that aerodynamicists tell us that at that speed, air can be considered to be a solid, and so the whole thing would just smash to pieces. It'd bring the plane down and all the rest of it, but that's not the problem we've got, because I'm not planning on doing the experiment. The problem we've got is the amount of energy that it would produce, electricity, is more than the whole world produces in electricity, and I've calculated it. And how much power is produced by planet Earth, of course, is not exactly known, but it's roughly known, and it's exactly a huge amount. And by using the laws that tell us how much energy a 1 meter diameter a wind turbine would produce, we can calculate that energy. And if you're uncomfortable about breaking the laws of thermodynamics, just put in 600 miles an hour, if you like, a 600 mile an hour wind, on a 1 metre diameter turbine, and you get figures that are not only astronomical, but they get more astronomical the further the faster the speed. So a lot of the things I'll be talking about in these videos are to do with cube laws, because they tell us an awful lot about the perpetual motion, which is nature. Nature is perpetual, and as Tesla says, if you attach your machinery to the wheels of nature, you will soon find out that the whole damn thing is connected to it. And so in the same way, the wind that approaches a wind turbine is unlimited, not the wind itself, but the source of the wind. So the source of the wind is a weather system, and if you were to suck out all the energy of the weather system, it would redress that balance. So a huge amount of energy can be generated in this way, not in the way they're doing it now, in my opinion, and not in your garden, because we just don't get the conditions or the height or the available room, particularly the height, I think, and in most people's gardens. So that's not what I think is a practical solution. This is what we're talking about here is well, we're talking out the box, and we're talking a lot in theory. So I'm very unwell, as you know, mental health issues, depression and anxiety, and I'm doing this as part of my recovery, desperately trying to recover from that, and that's something we can talk about and help each other on. I'm also trying to get like-minded individuals together to discuss some of these things. So how would a wind turbine blade be designed to take into account the fact that when wind approaches it, it probably isn't like this, but you could imagine it as being a kind of a longitudinal or a straight line or linear in some way, just for the sake of this discussion, and then it hits the wind turbine blades, and we're told that we're taking out energy from the wind based on how much energy 1 metre squared of wind has, and that again is based on its density, meaning how much water is suspended in it. Well, contemporarily that's great, but that's just not how it works in my view. How it works, or should work in my view, is that the energy comes from the fact that you're allowing the wind to spin or to go in a helical fashion or in a imploding or exploding vortex. And so the energy is coming really as a factor, or because of the change in angular momentum, for want of a better word. So we're saying to the wind, spin in this way, like water going down a plug hole of a bath or a sink, and you'll find yourself, as you go further into this vortex, you'll find yourself going faster and faster. And to help you understand that, a way of looking at it is that if you had the architecture and the design right, and this is really controversial, I know that, so comments are welcome, nice ones please. If this isn't for you, just move on and find somebody more intelligent than me. I'm trying to look at water. So you get to a state where the wind leaves the back of the wind turbine faster than it arrived. That's what you're aiming at, and this is what a toroidal vortex does. As it implodes on itself, the centripetal and other forces, and there's several forces and vectors at play, far too many to mathematically model, even though they think they can. The speed reaches ridiculous velocities, and I'm not going to put numbers on it because I'll get spammed out of all existence just for even saying it. A lot of what I'm saying, I didn't think the world was ready for 15 years ago when I was doing this research, but I think we're getting to a point now where younger people and people with more fertile brains than me, might be older than me, but better brains, will pick up the baton and run with this, even if it's just talking to each other and refining our ideas. Now if so I've forgotten whether I said that the MIT reckon that the energy from this car going into the wind was coming from the pavement. So we're singing a similar sort of songbook there. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not coming from the wind. It might be coming from the source of the wind. It might be coming from the pavement. I'm not entirely sure. I might be entirely sure by the time I reach the end of this video, but I'm just starting to get a bit spun out because I've done this video once and the sound wasn't right, so I'm having to do it again and I'm running out of speed. So two things. So children play with little windmills on the end of a stick. That is the design. You sometimes see them in garden allotments. That is the design that we want. And I don't know how to find it to show you or how to explain it, but it's very, very simple. But it encourages wind to flow in a helical manner, not in a laminar. So we work with the wind rather than fight against it. And Formula One cars will change radically over the next 20 or 30 years when they eventually understand how wind really behaves and that it's not their enemy. It's actually their ally, but that's getting very controversial again. So so this car actually exists. So there you go. That's not my car. It exists, and you can find it. The other thing that existed is an American guy understood what I'm saying. And on the edge of a cliff or top of a hill, he built like what looked like an aircraft, a semicircular sort of aircraft hangar from the old days, or a tube if you like. I'd guess 10, 15, 20 meters in diameter, and I'd guess 30, 40, 50, 100 meters long, probably 200 or 300 meters long maybe. And inside this huge tube, in a windy location, he had several wind turbines, one behind the other. So they were kind of arranged in parallel, and electrically would have been connected in parallel, I think, also, because he realised that with the wind leaving behind a wind turbine still had energy in it, or might even have more energy in it. That's can be argued, and that the birthplace of that wind, the source of that wind, the wind system, will go to any length to move and address any imbalance that you create. So if you imagine this tunnel of wind turbines being a low pressure system by virtue of its the non-Pythagorean movement, if that's the right word, the vortexual movement is creating a point of imbalance or a low pressure, just like water accelerating down a plug hole. We've all seen that, and we have all witnessed that. So do give me your comments. I'm not quite finished yet, but do subscribe. All of my videos are asking similar difficult questions, and always in at least each video I'll bring up a physics anomaly if I can, to show us that we're on the right track, asking very, very difficult questions, which will lead the way to a new and more purposeful, more sustainable technological innovation. I don't believe that we've even started the technological revolution yet. There's going to be a renaissance where we'll see all sorts of things possible, way beyond these sort of beautiful drones we have with built-in gyrometers and goodness knows what else, but more flying saucer-like devices will become possible when we properly understand gravity. The key to all of these things is always an imploding, exploding toroidal vortex, which has its own positive feedback built into its architecture, its perpetual architecture. Nature is perpetual. Don't forget that if we go down 2 miles into the ground or go up 2 miles to the top of Everest, grab a piece of rock or from the ocean seabed, break it open until we've only got one molecule. There is no such thing as a molecule, but let's just play that game. And then find in that molecule an atom. There is no atom in there, but let's just play that game. The atomic atomization, I think it is, theory is completely wrong and ridiculous, the idea of there being quanta. But let's just humour that for a moment. We come eventually down to what they call an atom, which is a nucleus and a positron and a electron or more gyrating around this nucleus. A couple of problems with that. Not only that would it neutralise itself because opposite charges attract, but where does the energy come from for these electrons to orbit the nucleus, where does the electron get the energy to orbit the nucleus for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years, in every atom, in every mountain, in every sea, in every seabed, in every mine, right down to the centre of the earth? There would be the number would be too big there wouldn't be enough room on planet Earth to type out the size of that number. To give you some idea, big numbers interest me, and square laws, cube laws, in fact anything factorial above 1.1 starts to really shake the brain cells up. So I've lost my way here a bit, just bear with me. I think I've said all I need to say about wind turbines at the moment. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you can find that link. I'll certainly buy a 3-course meal to anybody that can find that picture that I've seen of this American that put these wind turbines in parallel. I do remember having to trick Google with our Boolean algebra to find it, and I still do that, but certainly not with Google. And even in those days I remember that I couldn't find any figures on how successful he was. It really came to a dead end. And having spent thousands of hours researching alternative thinkers of the past, you'll always get to that dead end, and that's a good sign. The dead end means that vested interests didn't want too many cats let out of the bag at that particular point in time. We live in a fascinating point of time now where cats are coming out of the bag wholesale, and trust me, physics is in total and complete disarray, as are all the sciences. All sciences really have at their base mathematics, and know this, there is no mathematics in nature. There might be some Fibonacci's and some golden ratios going on, I don't know, that doesn't interest me very much. But mathematics, no. Like apple tree, give me a mathematic algorithm to explain an apple tree, don't think so. And I think I've got no time for Einstein whatsoever, but I think towards the end of his life he said, well, mathematics is really, really handy, no doubt about it, but at the end of the day, nothing to do with it. Why don't I like Tesla? Well, I agree with... why don't I like Einstein, I agree with Tesla. Tesla called him a fuzzy-haired idiot. But that's a bit disingenuous, because no doubt he had some good stuff. He's just been, what he said has been misinterpreted and railroaded to bring us into an age of materialism, relativism, relativistic thinking, which is not the future. The future is with the ether, A-E-T-H-E-R or E-T-H-E-R. This is a infinitely unmanifested conscious force of nature that will power all of our future requirements. That has already happened, but got buried, and it will happen again, I believe. So please subscribe, please comment, please bear with me. I'm not at all well, but let's hope that we can get each other more well and have some interesting conversations. Peace.